gentlemen, what's going on? It's Danielle Arena here, back with the Rap Geekz podcast. Today's special guest is Trakksounds. How's it going? How's your day?
Pretty good. Can't complain. Dealing with this Houston weather, being frozen last week and 72 today, so I love it. I'm all on board.
Oh, same here, same here. So your first, so I guess, well, is it Trakksounds, or do you just go by Track? Do people just say, hey, what's up, Track?
Yeah, most people call me Track now, yeah, for the most part, so.
Where'd you get your name from?
Man, I've been doing music for a long time. I was about 13, and one of my friends, we were starting a music label, for the lack of better words, and he was like, man, we should just call it Trakksounds. And it's literally just stuck. And there's no cool story behind it, anything like that. It was just one of those things one of my friends thought of, and it kind of just stuck. So I just kind of went with it. So I'm not really sure about the origins of that. Everybody asks me all the time.
How long have you been in the industry?
Professionally for 12 years, but I've been making music since I was about 13 years old. So I had a studio in my house when I was in high school, recording people, making CDs, stuff like that. So a long time.
Did your family support that? Did they think, this might turn into something?
They definitely supported it because I have a very musical family. My dad plays the guitar, harmonica, sings. My aunt plays the guitar and the harmonica and sings as well. But everybody has a little skepticism of the music industry in general, especially hip-hop. So they supported me, absolutely, but nobody really knows how far you're going to go until you continually to take it that far. So they definitely supported me though quite a bit.
Right. I feel like there's definitely, with a lot of people who are in the industry, they kind of have this almost like a grit, almost like they know. You just know in your heart. Did you have that when you were younger? Did you just, it wasn't something you like woke up, oh, I'm going to be a music producer. I'm going to, work with this artist and work with that artist. It wasn't just like one day you woke up. I feel like it had to have been something you have known, like you knew you were destined for that. Did you know that at a specific age?
I particularly think so, because I was like the 8 or 9 year old that would be listening to songs on the radio, and I really wasn't care. Honestly, I knew lyrics to every song, which always blew people's mind. I'd be like 9 or 10 years old knowing lyrics to a lot of songs, but also I was always extremely fascinated by the music behind the actual song. And if people would think I was, it was just different, because I would be focused on who made this beat, or who, I didn't even understand beats at the time, but I always could tell that there was something that was drawing me into music. And the other thing too that, a lot of people didn't really understand, as I would tell them, is that I would always see colors with music. Like music, different styles of music would portray a color to me in my mind. It's called synesthesia. And so I've always kind of had that. So I always kind of knew something was a little different from me versus other people when it just came to regards in music. So I personally think I do have a lot of God-given talent towards music, but it was also a lot of tons of hours of dedication, tons of hours of hard work and things like that. It kind of got me to that level, but I could always tell it was something that just stuck out to me more than other things. It was just always something in my brain, for sure.
Did you ever meet somebody around that time when you discovered you had this passion for music? Was there anybody around your age doing the same thing?
Not necessarily. So in my, we kind of talked briefly, in my hometown of Angleton, it's a smaller community, and there actually was an artist that went by Young Ro, who was the first signee to Chamillionaire, maybe 2003, 2004, 2005, somewhere around there. So he was kind of like a local legend in our, just in our area. So wildly, I would say Young Ro, who I've still never met him, have any talks with him. I don't even know what he's doing to this day. He had a crazy effect on the Angleton community. A lot of people did music out there because of Young Ro. Kind of, brought that hope that somebody could do the same thing. I personally think I'm the only one that actually took the torch and ran with it, and kind of got to this point. So I would say that early opening of seeing some local people actually get, a little local fame, for lack of better words, and then, YouTube was just kind of popping up at that time. So I was, on YouTube University every single day, seeing people, hearing people talk about making beats, random people, and all of that kind of inspired me. So I would say it was just like a perfect storm of YouTube getting big, and then local community kind of already starting to push some more music just in general. Like, we were a small town, so anybody doing anything, everybody kind of knew about it. So.
Right. What age did things start to take off for you? Where was that transition? Because in everyone's career, there's, I'm doing it for fun or something, and then all of a sudden, you're like, okay, I'm making money. Things are starting to pick up. There's momentum there. What age did that come in?
I sold some of my first beats in high school. I actually used to just put beats on a CD, and then random people would find out, just through generic, ways of, working with my high school friends and stuff like that. People started just buying CDs from me with my beats on it. I'll never forget, I sold my first beat. It was 12 beats on a CD for, it was like $150, I think, total, at a Whataburger. Met the guy at a Whataburger. That's the most Texas story ever right there. And yeah, that was the first time I sold beats. And then, I graduated from high school, went to college, I went to U of H. And then I was lucky enough to get it's not an internship, I got brought in at Chameleonaire Studio. That was the first studio I worked at. I had some engineering skills and was already a really good producer at the time. And it all kind of just worked in hand. And that's when I started doing some Chameleonaire singles. And that was one of my first times that I was like, okay, there's actually a lane for me, and I can actually see how people make this a career and make good money off of this thing. So that was definitely some of like my first eye-opening events, was getting in the studio with Chameleonaire, working with him, and that kind of was my real, solidified industry work. But then just selling some beats to random people in high school, and CDs, and just seeing like, man, people are actually interested in, what's going on. So.
Sorry, my headphone went out. I don't know. Are we good to go? Before that, did you think, man, this might not work out for me? I might have to get a regular job.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I finished college, so, I think if you don't ever have any doubts, I mean, I'm 12 years professionally in, and I still have doubts all the time, so if you're not having any doubts, I don't think you're trying hard enough, or you're not shooting, for the stars, for lack of better words, or something like that. So I've always kind of been a fan of, if your dreams don't scare you, then they're probably not big enough. So that's kind of the doubts. I think that's with any person that's a musician, stuff like that, because these are your craft, it's your art. But the one thing I like about music is if you try one more time, then you think about giving up, you still always have a shot. It's never going to stop until you just give up. If you don't give up, you always have a shot. It's kind of how I look at it. So
I heard that. Were there any plans with your degree? What did you study?
I did hotel and restaurant management, actually. I really just got the degree for my parents because they really wanted me to. They kind of knew that I was lucky enough to, have parents that they were the first time going to college in their family, things like that. So they really valued that. And, going to U of H, I loved U of H. It was cool. I got to work in the studio, go to class. And I was bartending while I was in college. All that, worked in restaurants growing up, like tons of stuff like that. So, through college, I didn't just initially start making a bunch of money with music and things like that. I was balancing a lot of other things. My aunt owns a cooking class. She teaches cooking classes. I was working with her, all types of stuff, just to kind of, keep my feet wet in different avenues. And now I haven't obviously touched my degree at all, but it helped me a lot. Like going to college, there's a lot of very good things that came out of that, as far as just organization, knowing life skills, business skills, time management, tons of things, like how to, relationships with people, tons of things. So I really did value my time, even though I don't necessarily use my degree. I still get a lot of use out of my degree, if that, kind of makes sense.
So was college kind of forced on you in a way? Was there a lot of pressure?
Not really, but kind of. Really, like they would have been disappointed if I wouldn't have gone, because, I was blessed enough that they paid for my college. That was one of their things. Like I had a couple scholarships and things like that, but that was one of their things for it. So I was blessed and lucky enough to have that. And so I would almost been disrespectful, I feel like, to not give it that chance. And, like I said, I'm a realist at the same time too. So there's a lot of good things, like I mentioned, there's a lot of good things that came out of college. And, eventually I hope to open up a bar or a live music venue or something like that, just to kind of, put together all my loves and, my college degree experience and things like that too. So there's a lot of value in it, but I wouldn't say it was forced on me, but it was definitely highly encouraged.
Right.
What were your degrees for? Or not your degrees, your scholarships.
Grades.
Really?
Grades, yeah. And I played basketball too, and that's a whole other story. I'm not even gonna get into.
In college, you did?
Yeah, that's a whole other story for a whole other podcast. I played D1 for a little bit before I came back to U of H. Yeah, so
something we can relate on.
Yeah, that's a different story, but I graduated from U of H, so we'll keep it at that.
That's good. So you have this free 25-day single release plan for artists. How did you come up with that?
So I've been, a lot of people have been asking me that same question. They're like, why have you, because, you know, I'm known as a producer, known for my beats and things like that, which I've been doing that for years, putting up content of me making beats, using different sounds to make beats. And I was kind of at a point where I have a lot of different people I've been studying that are running different marketing businesses online. And one of the things they preached was, you know, you need to give out things of value and give out things of value that to the, you know, customers or audience you're wanting to attract. And for the longest, I was like, well, I feel like I'm marketing to producers because I'm showing them how to make beats and things like that. And it was working okay, but it was one of those things like, why am I marketing to producers? I'm a producer. I need to figure out how can I help artists, but still at the same time market to artists, because that's, you know, who I need to work with. So it kind of just different people I've been studying, seeing different things. I decided to put together that release plan, but just in general, I've been trying to help artists even more for free for the most part, because I see too many artists get discouraged so quick. We're talking about, they get discouraged so quickly. There's terrible information out there from people that have never done anything with music. I'm not Hit Boy or Big Sean, I mean, or, you know, Metro Boomin or somebody like that. But I've seen a lot of very successful artists from the beginning to where they are now, people that have signed major label deals, all types of things. I've been there from the beginning, and I've seen what has worked well for these artists. So I can give some of this game back to artists to, you know, help the failure rate in the industry and help the, you know, mindset of some of these artists to just keep trying and keep pushing. This is not a 2 or 3 month thing. This is something that, like I said, I've been dedicating 17 years of my life to this, you know, and I know artists, all the Maxo Kream, who I'm very close with and had a strong relationship for over 10 years. I've been seeing him since the day he walked in my studio the first time till now. He's a, you know, major touring artist for Rock Nation, all the types of things like that. But there was a long process to it. It was not like he woke up one day and a few months later he was up. Like, I met him when he was 18, and then I'm almost 30 now, and like we're just now in the past couple of years getting to our major tours, national tours, international tours. So I really just wanted to help the failure rate with artists, and at the same time, now I've had more chances for my beats to land places because I'm meeting more artists, networking with more artists, talking with more, and showing my value. And they're like, man, if he knows this, let me check out his beats. And then I have good beats. It all kind of just works out in one. So it's been a overall plan to help myself in my marketing and also help the industry in general and the artist particular.
You seem to be very compassionate. You seem to want success for other people. Do you think that is also something that makes you different from everybody else that you've come across?
Yes. For like, you know, just because there's another thing I do too, a lot of I expose, you know, in my opinion and words, I expose a lot of music scams that are out there. Like we're talking about earlier, people that have no industry experience at all, selling a dream to people, trying to sell fake verses, scamming people, for lack of better words, just all types of stuff I see all the time. Them
mixtapes that people can put the $500 on.
So you want to know what's hilarious? I just dropped a video. It probably went live like 30 minutes ago, pretty much calling that whole thing out. So that is the biggest scam going on right now, by the way. So that is a whole nother topic. But at the same time, that's exactly right, though. I'm tired of seeing stuff like that offer little to no value for people, and they sell them some big deceiving dream, and then people invest in that thinking that's the way they're supposed to invest their money, when there's so many better ways you can invest that $500. And I'm trying to, you know, keep that train going for people to realize there's much smarter ways that you can do this and connect with your fans and stuff like that, instead of being, you know, using a lot of these people use these deceiving, you know, entrepreneur tactics. There's a guy online that I like, and he calls them entrepreneurs basically. And he put out schemes on how people do this. And it's funny because I've studied a lot of marketing too, and I get that it is marketing, but it goes to a different level when you're taking money from people that don't have a whole lot of money to begin with, selling them false hopes, you know, when you don't really have any chance at all for them to even achieve that hope that you're giving them, and a ton of things like that too. So, I do, in conclusion, I do think I am different than a lot. There's a couple really good people out there that have very good marketing practices and things like that. But then there's a bunch of people that are as with any field or any, get rich quick scheme, for lack of better words, they're, pretty much going to just go over a bunch of artists and mess them over, for lack of better words. So
When did you start to realize that the industry was like that? That there's the fake and the real?
I mean, pretty early on, I would say, but it's definitely been in the past 5 or 6 years. Like, even in general, just the sheer amount of like bullshit that people have been putting online has increased 20 times, because now people are learning Facebook ads. People are learning like what are these marketing tricks to, deceive some of these 19-year-olds that, got a little money in their bank account finally, and then you're going to tell them they're going to be on, having lunch with Jay-Z next week if they just buy your course or something like that.
The quality control one's the most popular one I see.
Yeah.
People, I might get this meeting with QC.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Do you hear a lot of these people like that come into the studio kind of going through those things too?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And that was part of why I started to even pay more attention to it. Because even like just like as much as I've been YouTubing lately and things like that, all that really kind of increased over. And we talk about like the pandemic and stuff too, but just seeing people come to the studio. I had, one of my close clients come. I've had multiple clients, but even one of them came and he was like, "Man, the game hit me up, man." He said he loves my songs and he loves this. And I was like, and I kind of had to break it down to him. And I could tell, like, as I'm telling him, he kind of didn't believe me at first. And I wasn't trying to I hate crushing people's goals. So I kept at the same time going, like it could be real, but he's also messaged about 1,000 other clients that are online now that you can see and saying that same stuff. And then he's going to try to sell you, a mixtape slot. So, proceed with caution. So I hate crushing people's dreams, but at the same time, I try to, open their eyes to it. And then he kind of came around a little further and then started to see like, okay, yeah, this isn't necessarily exactly what has been shown, but the rate that it has went up this year and the past couple years of people falling victim to something like that or almost falling victim to it kind of was alarming to me. So I kind of want to make sure that people are, have that education going.
This is the first time I'm hearing anything about this. I mean, obviously on my side it's different.
Yeah.
Especially the game one right now. That one's the popular one too. Is the game? That Los Angeles Confidential.
Yep.
What you call it? The handle.
He's about 30% of my video I put out, which is, and the funny thing is, it's probably I'm 99% sure it's not even the game, obviously, that is doing this, and people, he has
social media managers.
100%.
Yeah.
There's one particular company that's doing it, so yeah, it's pretty wild how they're able to do that. But people fall victim to blue checks and saying, "Oh, you'll be on a mixtape with me," and it's obviously a mixtape that 40 other people are paying to be on. That probably has like 300 views on DatPiff or something like that.
And
So
I knew one of the social media managers for Gucci and Waka's page, and that was part of their job, was sending out the mass messages. Hey, I listened to your latest thing on SoundCloud, blah 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 blah, and here's the package information.
oh man, yeah, that's terrible.
So how are they hitting them up? Is it like through email, Instagram?
DM.
Yeah, DM. So pretty much the thing that's going on right now is you'll have a popular artist, verified artist on Instagram or something like that, put up a post saying, "Hey, I'm looking for heat. I'm tagging artists in my comments. Yeah, I'm looking for who's the best producer and unsigned rapper out there. Comment below." And then you have all these people saying, "Oh wow, I could put my friend on, or I could put me on. I'm gonna tag them. And they're tagging everybody in their comments, and their comments blow up. And then the more comments you get, obviously Instagram pushes the photo out to more people. And so by then they've got 2,000-3,000 people being tagged that are rappers or unsigned artists. And so then they just start individually DMing them people in the comments, and then they're saying, "Hey, man, we heard you got some heat. Like we're offering $500. I partnered with Da Block 365, which is the promotion company that's doing this, and we're offering $500 mixtape slots to be on my next mixtape."
And this is legal?
So technically it is, because it's not a scam for the exact definition of a scam. Because you do. So they put out this mixtape and they were claiming they put it on SoundCloud and DatPiff, which are two terrible sites anyway. SoundCloud better than DatPiff. And the artist would never promote the mixtape. Their picture would just be on the cover, and then there would be 40 other people that paid for a slot just like you to be on this mixtape. So then technically you're on a mixtape presented by that artist. But the two things to point out is that the artist is very, very, very loosely affiliated, never promotes it, anything like that. And then the second thing is it's on SoundCloud and DatPiff. SoundCloud now, all of those, after the company got called out for scamming, they're trying to figure out how to, redo it. They wiped their whole SoundCloud. So all those mixtapes are gone. All they have it now is on DatPiff. And I know all this because of that video I just did. There's one with DMX. DMX put it up. There was 40 artists, 40 songs on there. At least I saw 70 artists. Most of the songs had 2 or 3 artists. So you think 100%. So you think they paid $500. So even if we say 40 songs, $500, was that $20,000, right? Mm-hmm. So they made $20,000 off this mixtape. The DatPiff mixtape, I think when the DMX one just dropped at the top of the month, it had 700 plays total. So divide 700 by 40. What is that? 25, 30 plays or something like that. So if you think it's a wise investment for $500 to get 30 plays on a DatPiff mixtape,
and the people playing it might not even get to your song.
100%.
There's 40 songs on that day.
Just think, rethink of that. $500 for 25 plays on a DatPiff mixtape. Mm-hmm. If anybody is listening to DatPiff in 2021, I don't trust them already. So there's a problem going around. So that's why it's like I said, in the end, it's not a scam, for the direct quotation of what a scam is, but does it hold any intrinsic value? Very, 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 very little. There's so much better things you can do with $500. It's kind of what I get into, and so I try to, educate people on that. And there's tons of scams like that, same type of thing. And I hate calling it a scam because, like I said, it's not technically a scam, but at the same time, it is a complete waste of your money.
Do you know any of these scammers personally?
No. No. Well, the funny, the rap list, there's about 50 or 60 rappers on there, and I know a couple of the rappers, but it goes back to
they fell for it.
It's just one of those things. Like, you got this company coming to you, hey, you want to make a quick buck? Let us take over your Instagram for a little bit. Boom. Artist makes 10 bands from just putting up one post. Come on, that's like an artist's dream. But most of them are know not to fall for it, and it has such a bad reputation now that it's kind of dying out some, but not now. They're switching to like models, other stuff like that, like all type. Like I saw Amber Rose put one up, different people like that. So they're kind of like switching their thing because they know the rappers part is kind of dying out. Especially
with no shows going on right now, you can't sell those people the 10 minutes for $300, shit like that.
Yeah, right. That one's still going around too. There's a whole nother one, and I actually got an interview with somebody later about that particular thing too. So there's quite a few scams out there. So as you can see, and it's tough to nail them down. But for the most part, anybody promising you something specifically and they don't have any like a good reputation at all, and they're promising you like, a complex placement, or I'll get you on this show for 15-minute slot, or I'll give you 1,000 plays on Spotify. Anything that they can promise like that, it's pretty much a scam because there's no guarantees in music.
Is there anyone in Houston we need to keep an eye out for?
Nah, not in particular. I'm not gonna call anyone out.
You might get sued. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully not.
Yeah. That's why I'm so particular with using the word scam.
Right.
But yeah, there's no one in Houston. The one person that did kind of have a little affiliation with it, he's pretty much stopped. So, and I know him well, so I'm not gonna do that. But it wasn't anybody I'm closely affiliated with that you would be like, oh yeah, that's definitely a Trakksounds artist. Nobody like that, but it's somebody I know. So, but he's stopped for the most part. So,
we brought up the pandemic with Carlos over here. How do you feel about artists still trying to perform?
Like live shows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
even just doing the whole live scene, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like
right
that's
now,
helping them at all?
For doing it during a pandemic is what you're asking? I think it's debatable. Obviously everybody, different strokes for different folks. You're not going to catch me doing that, and you're not going to catch me and my artist. When I say my artist, who I DJ for, Maxo. We've done one show this whole time, and it was a virtual show for a virtual reality company, and it was just us in a big room for that. So, and he's had tons of offers, tons of things, but they still have not accepted anything just because they're very smart and they're smarter than that. So, you know, a lot of artists, they got to find some way to eat, and I'm not mad at that one bit. So I'm never going to judge how other people, you know, live their life and things like that. Like I said, would I personally be out there? Absolutely not. Do any of the artists that I work with, are they out there? Pretty much no. But there are a couple things out there, and like I said, that's all up to the person there and them. But it's been tough because a lot of artists eat off of touring. Like, that's where a lot of their money comes from, especially if they have a bad label deal or anything like that. So it's been a tough year, and so that's probably why a lot of scams have been popping up even more too. It kind of all goes hand in hand, I feel like.
Let's say this goes on for, I mean, hopefully not another 2-3 years.
All right.
What does the industry look like?
I think virtual reality actually is going to be huge. Excuse me.
Do you think there's any money in that?
Not as much money as a live tour for sure, but you kind of gotta, you know, move and groove how you can. So I think virtual reality and virtual shows are going to be pretty big. And then I'm pretty educated on the whole, you know, crypto blockchain space and stuff like that too. But I think the NFTs, which is the new way to kind of sell your digital media and things like that through the blockchain, I think that's pretty going to be pretty big for artists moving forward, especially the ones that can latch on like quicker. I can't remember who I was reading, but I can't remember what artist it was, but they sold one of their, what they call as a non-fungible token or something like that, and it's pretty much they'll have a digital asset, like a GIF not long ago sold for like 1.5 million, to where this person owns the rights to this GIF, and it's all on the blockchain too. And there's different songs that are being done like that, all types of stuff. A lot of labels have a lot of things in the works right now dealing with this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over time. And like I said, I'm pretty educated in it, but all like as far as enough to get a full breakdown and stuff on it, I don't know enough about that, but it's something I want to research even further because I think a lot of artists can benefit from it. So it's something I want to be able to give out the information to. So I think blockchain and virtual reality and all this type of stuff, people are going to always find ways to make more money.
Right. Do you think that the industry will start to kind of sink ship as the pandemic continues? And as these things start to pile on around us, I mean, there's so many restrictions on things that we can and can't do anymore. And what if that never lifts? What do you think the music industry will tank? Do you think it may stay afloat? How do you picture that?
I don't think music industry it'll ever tank. Will they, like, you know, will they be able to get that same amount of money they were getting when touring and it was really eating? No, but at the same time, people thought the industry was going to tank with streaming, and now it's probably bigger than ever. You know, like it all depends on who you're dealing with, who we're talking about. But there's a lot of artists that are making way more money from sponsorships and all types of things like that. Then you kind of just got to like figure out how you can monetize your brand, as opposed. That's one thing that really has been happening over the past few years and decade is artists are figuring out better ways to monetize their brand and expand it bigger than, hey, here's our music.
That's why some of your favorite artists aren't dropping music like you want them to, because they're making more money doing makeup and shoes.
100%. Yeah, Rihanna's a billionaire now.
Yeah.
You know what
yeah,
I'm
she
saying?
wasn't when she was making music.
100%. You're never gonna make that much money in music, just off of your songs and things like that. So that's what, you see Travis Scott, I can't tell you how many sponsorships he's done this year or products. He just dropped a hard seltzer, I think, yesterday or something like that.
I don't know. I don't follow him.
Yeah.
I don't even know half the people on the internet.
He had the McDonald's thing. He had
Nike.
He had a Fortnite
that
concert.
blew
That
up.
Fortnite concert was amazing.
Fortnite, he did Nike, Nike collab. He had one more too, and I cannot think of what it was too. And then now he just is doing his hard seltzer, and I think they did a tequila and stuff like that. And there's a lot of other artists doing the same thing. Like even, we talk about Maxo. Maxo has started his own clothing line, Persona brand. It's been doing really well. He's done collabs with like famous clothing designers. There's all types of stuff. So artists are figuring out ways to use their likeness and image and, popularity to find more money. That's really where the key is with music now, figuring out how you can build a true core fan base around you that really supports anything you do, and the music is just kind of like the icing on it. And then obviously the better the music, the more they'll stay around and things like that too. So
there are a lot of people who look at that as a cash grab. Maybe you can answer this question because you make beats, you're a producer, you have this whole thing going for you, and you're around these artists a lot. What happened to artists just being artists? All of a sudden, they're models, they're they're actors, and I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, hold on, that's not your job. Like, sit down and pick up the mic.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
I think, record sales were definitely a big deal with it. Now that, it's streaming just does not pay as much as
Right.
record sales used to do, but artists are more popular than ever now with social media, things like
Right.
that.
By record sales, you mean like physical?
Yes,
Yeah.
physical,
releases.
like going to the store buying
Yeah,
those.
yeah.
Right.
There will be very, very few diamond albums anymore, things like that. And before, if you look at it, Nelly has a diamond album. Eminem's got a diamond album. Obviously,
Oh,
50
yeah.
Cent. Like all these people that, from you think back maybe 10, 15 years before, getting a diamond album was very, very tough, but it wasn't impossible. Nowadays, if we see another diamond album, I'll be absolutely floored. I just don't think it's ever going to happen now.
Would you say that the way that the game is constructed right now is made to benefit the labels more than it is the artists? Because you don't really see the merch or not the merch, but like the actual physical releases anymore.
Yeah.
You'll get the digital album before you get anything.
100%. Yeah, I think that. I think it benefits the labels when artists sign bad deals. But if an artist gets enough leverage, I think Russ is a really good example. I think Maxo is a great example as well. When an artist gets enough leverage to that they can call the shots per se on their deal, to not give up their masters, things like that, that's when it becomes more of a partnership. And that's what you want as an artist. You don't want to be where the label's the one getting the upper hand. And you need artists, if you want to be famous, you need a label. If you want to make money and be not as famous, then you can do it the independent route 100%. You'll make more money. But if you want to be famous and blow up and get sponsorships, all that type of stuff, you'll need a label. But at the same time, you don't want to sign to a label too early before you have any leverage. So you want to make sure you have leverage with them. And if you have some leverage with the label, then it becomes a better partnership. And from there, that's because of the lack of record sales, they're trying to find ways to branch out and get more money for the artists, because in the end, they're all going to make money from it. So it just really goes back to record sales are down, but people's popularity is bigger than ever because of social media. So there'll be an XYZ artist from North Dakota or something, and he'll have 1 million on TikTok or something like that, and he has no popular songs, maybe one or two. And so people will think, well, how else can we use this to our advantage? Well, now they need to start doing sponsored posts for their TikTok and get promotions that way, and use their image and their following to really push more products and push their music and things like that too. So it's kind of become, between social media and the lack of record sales, that's why you see more promotions and people doing other things like that, because everybody's more popular than ever.
That's why I'm saying, the industry is tanking. That's what I mean by, nobody's going out to buy a physical album.
100%.
At that point, are they chasing fame or are they chasing the music?
The artist, it's totally up to them. Really, that's an individual artist question, I would say, because the ones that are chasing fame probably got into a bad deal. The ones that are more about the music and know more about what's going on, they probably got a better deal, or they stayed independent and learned from other people like that too. So I wouldn't say the music industry is tanking. I think music sales are tanking. So now it just goes back to, you got to figure out, how can we use the music that you make to put other things, monetize them and put that on the platform. So the music industry, the sales are definitely declining and things like that. But as a whole, the popularity of, these artists and stuff like that is just like so meteoric now in the past few years. Because I can name so many people that are just huge now compared to before. It was a lot harder to okay, there's 10 artists right now that are really big. Right now, you probably name 100 to 150 artists that are, you mention oh yeah, I know that person. Oh yeah, I know that person too. So I think labels are trying to figure out how can they combat the record sales dying, and how can also maximize their streams too, because a lot of them are starting to figure out ways to really push the streaming market and stuff too, because there's money in streaming. It ain't, it's not, people are not broke off their streams. I'll tell you that, especially if you get a lot of streams. So now labels are trying to figure out how they can do that. Honestly, they're kind of scrambling, because the whole industry as a whole changes so much. Like in the past 5 years it's changed. The past couple years it's changed with TikTok and things like that too.
Yeah.
So
and then now artists can't perform, so now
Exactly.
everybody loses money.
They're
at that
just
point.
scrambling pretty much, which everybody is doing at the same time. So they obviously have more resources and experience than a lot, but they're still trying to figure out what may work best. And so a lot of it is experimenting as an artist and watching other people to see what may be working for them and what may not be working for them, and kind of just studying other people that you want to be the same type of success as.
Do you plan on bringing any artists under your wing one day?
Nah, I've done that before, and
How do you feel about that?
it's not for me. It's just too much work. Like, people ask me all the time, "Do you manage? Do you do this? Do you want to do a label?" And I'm like, "No, I like making beats. That's what I like doing. That's my passion. That's all I pretty much want to do."
What about like an A&R gig or something like that?
Probably not, because A&R, I feel like A&Rs are. I mean, it would depend.
They're dying too.
They're dying too.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
I was gonna say they're dying, and most of them are, don't have any experience in picking music.
Yeah.
So it's funny because as a producer, I see a lot of the actual side from the creative. So it's like I send tracks to A&Rs all the time, and then a lot of times I don't get a response, or they'll maybe kind of like one. Then I'll send that same pack to the artist that they're even dealing with, and the artist is like, "Oh, I love this beat. Oh, I love this beat." And so as a creative, I hate going through a middleman to get to the artist, because I'm the creative that made the track, and I'm trying to get to the artist that's a creative. Why are you in the middle trying to tell me what is creative and not? Like,
Right.
what have you ever made a beat?
Right,
Like,
exactly.
what are your credits at? So
Exactly.
I've found that I love working with direct artists. Obviously, there's some great A&Rs out there, and some that have good connections and good relationships with me. But my biggest placements and just in general stuff is just getting to the artist somehow directly, and then going from there. And then, like I said, it's a much easier process every time to do something like that. So I really like to stick to the creative side right now. Personally, maybe down the line I'll do some different stuff and figure it out. But at the moment, I really just focus on producing records, making records, and that's why I give out the artist tips, because I'm trying to find artists that will make hits to my songs, and then we all blow up. I don't necessarily want to take them under my wing. I'll give them my tips, give them my best advice. I don't have enough time to take artists under my wing, really.
You just want to be like the mastermind behind or beside.
I want to open their eyes to it. And the reason why a lot of them are shorter or quicker, or maybe not the most in depth on one topic, is because I want you to realize what your options are, and then go do the research yourself so you can learn it and stop getting screwed over by different people and too. So if I'm talking about Facebook ads and I give you some gems on that, I want, at the same time, I always say, go do your own research. Everything applies to you, and you need to learn this on your own. I'm not watching me for 5 or 10 minutes isn't going to solve all your problems, but now you may be enlightened to know, oh, I can put my video before another YouTube video, and it'd be the direct audience that I want. Well, dang, I need to figure out this more. That's what I'm kind of doing. I don't have the time to hold somebody's hand per se, and I also see so many people charging astronomical amounts for that, and and that's something I would have to do if I wanted to do that, and I don't want to do that to artists. Where you want to do a consultation where I'm taking you under my wing for 6 months, cool. That's going to be expensive, because that's going to take a lot of my time, and I don't want to do that to an artist, because I feel like there's so much free information out there from me and other people. And if you just look at all this and then do your own research and do the sweat equity and the time to actually learn some of the stuff that we're talking about,
Sweat gritty.
then you'll be off way better. And then that $20,000 you're going to pay somebody to mentor you, take that $20,000 and spend it on videos and or whatever your budget is, $500.
Heavily invested into your craft.
100%. Use the sweat equity and learn some stuff and figure out what is learn it from that way. That way you'll have a much better knowledge base going forward. It will take you a little longer, but if you're trying to look for a get rich quick scheme or overnight success, then you're in the wrong business anyway. So you might as well, I don't even know.
Open the door and leave.
Yeah, you
Lock
might
it
as well.
yourself.
You might as well give up or something like that, because
Right.
at that point, music industry is not a get rich quick scheme, and is not a overnight thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I like people want to educate themselves, use their resources wisely. This is kind of why I hope to give out as much free information. There's a few things that throughout time I may do little courses and things like that. But even so, there's so many videos out there that people can research. A lot of people are just lazy, honestly.
Right.
Some people don't know what to look up either.
That too, and
Yeah.
that's what I say. If I open their eyes up to it, Facebook ads. You mean I can put up an ad on Instagram that's directed to my Spotify, and it's only targeted at people that listen to the same type of music that I want people to listen to? It blew my mind that people didn't know. I thought a lot of these were basic things, but now that I'm seeing it, it's not necessarily basic to everybody else. It's just basic to me, because I've been doing this stuff for so long, and I've seen so many people do it. So that's kind of what it said. I like just enlightening people enough to do their own research, basically.
Can you give us a list of some of the artists you've worked for or worked with?
Oh
or,
man, well,
I don't know how you. I don't know how. I guess
production-wise?
I don't know how you.
Man,
you ask that question.
yeah. I mean, I can. There's so many: Wiz Khalifa, ASAP Rocky, Young Dolph, Chameleonaire, everybody in Houston, literally everybody in Houston you can name, I definitely have worked with, without a doubt, have a relationship with. Outside of Houston, Wiz Khalifa, Janae Aiko, Big Sean, Mac Miller, R.I.P., Kendrick Lamar, Young Dolph, Kevin Gates, TNT, Sprite, NBA. Man, I'm missing a bunch. I'll be forgetting my own ones.
A whole hodgepodge.
Yeah, there's tons. I mean, I've had singles. Really, Cameron. I had a Cameron single in 2012. I produced. I didn't even know it for 2 years. That's a whole other thing. What else we got?
Have you done anything for, like, I guess you would say like soundtracks for like films?
Yeah, well,
commercials.
I've done a lot. As I was saying, TNT. I've scored tons for TNT Claws, the show Claws.
Oh, okay.
I've done a bunch of music on that.
That show has a great soundtrack too. So yeah.
Appreciate it.
Hey,
Sure.
now you know.
That's a good show too.
It is a good show. Yeah. I was watching it with somebody. I didn't think I was gonna like it. And I was like, I'll and then I'm just, I'm in it now.
Yeah.
I don't watch TV, so don't expect me to
I don't
know.
watch much either. I started watching that just because they started using my music, and I was like, this is actually a cool show. But yeah, so I did TNT. I've done HGTV. I can't even remember what the show was called. I've done a bunch on Vice, Payday, Unsung's VH1, Payday, Black Market. That's all Vice. I've done multiple episodes for that. I do a lot for NBA.com and Sprite. I did a bunch of their dunk contest music. I've done whiskey companies. I haven't done as much. I was working with a lady that helped me a lot with that for a few years. Mm-hmm. She started doing something else. I don't really know the whole story behind it. So that one is kind of fade because that industry, you need somebody that knows people, or you got to know the people. That's a way more who you know type industry because it's very, very competitive.
What within like
film and TV and stuff like that? It's just way more competitive than getting your beat to an artist, basically. Mm-hmm. So I've done quite a bit with that, but it's something I want to do more. But now in the past couple of years, I've been really focusing on R&B music, and so I've been really trying to branch out my R&B. I've had my biggest record to date, which is a song by Tink. It's called "Fuck Around." I think it's at like 100 million.
Sorry, I've never heard of it.
You're good. Trust me.
Sorry.
You know what's cool though is that's what we were talking about earlier. There's so many stars now because there's just so many ways to people can get to music, and there's so many people have access to people. So it's like it goes back. There's a ton of records that people will have that are really big for them, and no one else may never hear it. But it just goes. That's why I find artists that I know have a good fan base that I'll be able to connect with my beats and their sound, and then. There's a chick, she goes by Wolf Tyler, who she was big off of Vine. She got really famous. And then she's really big on Instagram now, a few million, stuff like that. Most people have never heard of her. She started doing music a couple years ago. One of her songs went viral. I started doing more music with her. And now we have 2 or 3 songs that have millions of plays online.
Wow.
One of them has Roy Woods, who was Drake's artist, on it. That's a really big one. Different stuff like that. So I've been able to find pockets of people that are talented, and then they have a fan base already, and people may not know them, but there's just so many different ways to find fan bases now.
Right.
And then so I've found different pockets like that within the R&B realm, because it's kind of just what I personally wanted to focus on. And it's been going well. So I haven't been focusing as much on the film recently, but it's something I want to get back to. There's just only so much time in a day. So
Right. Yeah, you're a very busy person. I don't want to get you into any trouble. But do you have a favorite artist that you've worked with? Is there anyone in particular that you're like we could hang?
Well, so my favorite artist I ever worked with that I don't really have a relationship with, it was just like a 1 or 2 time thing. He was in Houston, was either Kendrick or Mac Miller. They were both super awesome to work with. Very, very cool people. Kendrick was amazing. Mac Miller was amazing. Big Sean was amazing as well, too. Close. Let me think. So Devin the Dude is probably my favorite person all time in music, just because he is I met him when I was 18. He was one of the first people I met, and it was like, man, it was when you walked in the studio, I was so nervous too walking. It was one of the first times I was in the Houston studio, and Devin was like a legend from where I come from and all around. And walking in, it was like by far. You felt like, this was your cousin you've known for 15 years. Like, hey, man, what's up? Da, da, da. It was just like one of the coolest experiences. And I did forget Wiz is also really, really cool. meeting Wiz, he introduced himself to me, and I'm like,
Wow.
I know you. What?
You want to talk about humbleism?
Yeah. So I like Wiz was
the
really
definition.
cool. Yeah,
Wow.
Wiz was really cool, and then the people that I work with really close, Maxo and Starlito, are like two of my really good friends, and I've worked with them closer than anybody else. So I obviously really like working with them. But yeah, Wiz and Devin are like two of my favorite that I actually kind of know. Devin's one of my like close friends, but Wiz, I've worked with him on a few different projects, and the first time I met him in Houston, he was introduced himself, and that still has stuck in my head for years. It's been like 7 years now. So
Mac Miller. Oh man. Okay, so I know that name obviously speaks to a lot of people, especially me. I was like in high school, middle school, jamming to his music. It was like Donald Trump, that song.
Yeah.
It was like he was just like this kid. Around what age or what time in your career did you come across working with him, and how did that happen?
I was about 21, I think, so like 8 or 9 years ago. So when I moved into Community Air Studio, we started to do a whole bunch of revamping and made it really popular. It was probably the most popular studio in Houston for a while, and we had a connection with a company called Scoremore, who puts on a lot of shows in Texas. They're really big now, sold to Live Nation not long ago, but at the time we had
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we've known them forever. Sasha and Claire, they had a connection with us. They used to bring all the artists from their shows. Our studio was right by Warehouse Live, and so they would bring all the artists to our shows, or all the artists that they had. They would bring them to our studio after they wanted to come to the studio or just hang out. We had a cool little kick it spot, basically.
That's 713, or is that another place?
DMG studio.
Okay.
Kind of close to 713, but not a little closer than that.
Is
it's actually
Warehouse Live still around?
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Pandemic obviously is slowing it down, but
Yeah.
they're definitely still around. So, I think I got some relief packages. But yeah, so they used to come from that, and that's how we got to work with Big Sean's, how we got to work with Kendrick, how we got to work with Mac Miller. I was Bun B's personal engineer for about 5 years too. Wow. So I did a lot for Bun, and Bun. That's how I actually met Mac. So Bun and Mac did a song. Came to the studio, we recorded the song, whole bunch. There's a ton of footage online too. Like, he was one of the coolest people ever. That was connected through Scoremore, but Bun was obviously the reason that happened. ASAP Rocky, all of them, ASAP Ferg, pretty much everybody like that. A lot of it came through Scoremore, or like I was Bun's personal engineer, and I was Killa Callion's personal engineer, and then Chameleonaires. So between those three, any artist coming to Houston that was a famous artist, pretty much we were the only spot they were going to come to, because they called Bun, who everybody's like, hey, where should we go? Oh, well, let's go over to DMG. Cool, boom. So, I definitely appreciate Bun for always holding it down like that. We had a great working relationship. I saw him not long ago, and it was wild to see him after a couple of years. Because now I got a beard and I'm much older and stuff too. He's like, man, you look like you're grown now. And I was like, yeah, we're getting there, man.
Kid. Yeah.
Because I met him when I was like 19. So
Wow.
but yeah, that's how we ended up working with a lot of artists. So shout out to Scoremore. They're really cool. We had a real good relationship with them.
Do you recall any conversations with Mac?
Very vaguely. We didn't have a
Close
Yeah,
relationship.
nothing like that. He only came through the 2 times, but I just remember his energy and how cool he was and everything about it. It's just something you would never forget. Like, to the point that like I said, never will forget that. He was just so cool, so humble, such a real dude. And he made everybody in the room kind of just laugh and smile. So he's a good dude.
You mentioned being on tour. What is that like? And let us know who it is. Who are you hanging with these days?
Tour is definitely one of my favorite things ever. I can't wait to go back. Me and Maxo have been on 5 or 6 tours now. We've been the first one we ever got on. We were the opening act for Danny Brown on his U.S. tour 4 years ago. He's Eminem's artist. That was pretty big, and that was me and Maxo one deep on a tour bus with them doing 45 cities. That was kind of a humbling and learning experience, because I was the tour manager for Maxo at the same time. So I tour managed and DJ'd.
So you can tour manage, but you can't manage.
I can tour manage one artist. That's the thing.
Okay.
I got one artist that I tour manage. That's Maxo. And that kind of goes back to why I can't manage other people, because I already have so many things on my plate. But yeah, so I tour manage for Maxo, and then he's now in the past 5 or 6 years he's gone to a whole nother height. Now we got now he's major label deals, all that type of stuff too. So, and we did our first international tour
I was about to ask you that. How was that Europe tour? Like, what, 2019?
Yeah, right before the end of the pandemic, or right before the beginning of the pandemic, December 2019. So, yeah, Europe, that was absolutely amazing.
Was it the Pumpkin tour? Or was it
yeah, end of it. Yep. And then, yeah, it was amazing. We were supposed to go to Australia for a month right after the pandemic started. We had 10 shows scheduled in Australia. We were supposed to be there for a month, and they all got canceled, obviously. So I'm looking forward to it.
Was it the end of the year, end of last year? Or?
It was April 2020 is when it was scheduled.
Oh, wow. When they were like, in 2 weeks, this will be gone.
Yes, that's exactly how it was. So the festival in Australia that's kind of putting everything on, they were like, oh, we're going to wait a little bit to, see if we can make it happen. And then obviously like a week later, like, yeah, it's definitely not happening. So we're going to cancel everything. But they've rescheduled a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. We were supposed to do Rolling Loud Portugal too, and that got rescheduled to July this year. I'll be shocked if it actually goes through, but at the moment it is scheduled for July 2021. So we'll see. But yeah, the touring was amazing. Literally, it's one of those situations too. I met Maxo because he had a mutual friend that he'd never been in the studio. He was one of my first clients. Had a mutual friend that I did beats for. She linked us up. We just instantly clicked, and he liked how I worked, liked how he worked. And we have kind of just built from there. But that's why I preach to people all the time. Like, I would have never been able to do any of these tours, anything like that, if I hadn't simply been able to just press record. I didn't make beats for Maxo at the time. I just knew how to record. So I had a skill that I knew would be able to be valuable to people, built a relationship with him. And then 5 years later, he needed a DJ. And I kind of DJ'd, but I learned more of it because of that. And then, obviously the relationship has grown from there. But I try to preach to artists and producers all the time, like, don't be afraid to have a skill set within music to give you some more opportunities to meet people, things like that. Because I would have never been able to do any of these tours if I just simply couldn't record. And that's not even my main gig as a musician, I'm a producer. But just because I could record, I ended up having one of the best relationships in music.
Do you consider yourself self-taught?
Yes. Yep. I pretty much taught myself everything. I've had a couple of people here and there, but I taught myself how to play the piano, taught myself how to make beats, everything, taught myself how to engineer, taught myself how to record. Pretty much everything that I do in music, I taught myself with the help of YouTube.
Is there one person in your life, and it may be family-wise, friend-wise, personal career life, that has been there from day one and is still there now?
Besides my mom, not really. I got some really close friends, that don't do music that have always supported me, and then my mom and my dad. But really, the people that I started this with, they couldn't hang.
Really?
They don't. People thought, like I said, it goes back to people thought this was an overnight thing. They thought, and I'm in it because I love music. Like, if I didn't make $1, I'd still be making music, and I've been doing that since I've been doing that for 17 years. So this is, like I said, if all my, any way to make music went out the door tomorrow, I would still be trying to make beats. A lot of these other people, they'll put 6 months of work in, and they think, why aren't we famous yet? And so I lost a lot of people along the way because they couldn't see the vision, and then things started to go up, and now everybody's mad that they jumped off the boat. The same people, there's a few that are in my head right now. There's a few of them that I kind of talking about taking artists under my wing. I tried that with different people that I grew up with, people I was close with early on. Oh yeah, no, let's do it, man. Let's blow this up here. I'll give you this connection. I'll get Devin on your song. Oh yeah, cool. Now I'll get Bun on your song. Oh yeah, for sure. Let me call Killa. He'll get on your song. Oh yeah, I'll mix it. I'll make the beats for free. Oh yeah, let's get some artwork. And then they don't do any work. The artist doesn't do anything because I just spoon fed them, and I was like, okay, cool. And that happened with 3 or 4 artists that I was close with. Those same people, we kind of just, we didn't have a falling out. We just kind of lost, touch or whatever. They didn't see any progress, and I wasn't going to spend any more time on it. And then now, obviously, as things have taken off in the past, 5 or 6 years, the same people have been, oh man, hey, let's link up. Hey, let's link up. I see you doing some work, man. It's time to bring it back. I'm like, no, it's not. It's actually not. The reason I've been progressing is because I've stopped the dead weight.
Right,
so,
exactly.
You were working then too, though.
Huh? Yeah, 100%. And they don't see it. That's the thing too. They don't see it.
I was like, you over here telling people you can get Devin and Killer Call like that. Like that's not the work. What the hell?
Yeah, dude. I got people. I got so many
priorities though.
I got so many free Devin features, bun features for people that didn't like. That would, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is back when before streaming too, that was as big. I remember telling the artist, I'm like, yeah, well, like you pay for get some CDs pressed up and then go pass them out. And I remember telling him like, yeah, get 1,000 CDs pressed up. The funny thing is, we had CD printers at my studio. All he had to do was buy the material and do the work, and he never printed up one CD. It never. I think we put it on Dat Piff, and that's when Dat Piff was really popping at the time. And I think it ended up like I was kind of promoting it a little bit, but I told him I was like, man, you need to like get this out, hustle it. I think it got like 100 plays, and this is with a Bun feature, a Killer Callejon feature when he was popping like crazy, a Devin feature, all original, all types of stuff.
Killer Callejon was probably coming off that OJ and
yeah, that's exactly when it was. That's like when I met Killer. It was right. I met Wiz and Killer at the same time, right around then. That's exactly when I met him.
I'm glad Carlos knows a lot about.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm like, what? Who's what? Tom Hanks? Who's that? What?
I have kind of a dated question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
You had the other side.
Yeah.
Right, and earlier you said like when you hear in color, right? And I think back to that cover, cover for
that's
that.
That's why the cover's like that.
Okay. That was my question.
Yep, that's exactly why the cover. So
I remember like it being like very like color splashed, like with like purple and greens and.
Yeah, so it's funny. The artist that I work with all the time, my boy King Dub, who's an amazing graphic designer out here, one of my best friends. We did it a whole nother color. I think it was like red and purple or something the first time, and then he accidentally put a weird filter on it and sent it to me, and he's like, man, this is kind of cool. And I was looking at it and I was like, man, that's exactly what I feel like the color of the album is. It's a bunch of, there's not any like real dark, aggressive tones, but there's a lot of like light colors, stuff like that too. So that's how that came out, and that's exactly why I made it that way.
Okay.
Because I've always just see music in color, so I wanted people to kind of feel the same way.
Is there bad colors? Like when you listen to music, like is there like okay?
Not necessarily. They all draw off emotion. So obviously, like a more aggressive song kind of gives me like a red tint. A more chill song is more the blue purple kind of vibe. Green can kind of be more like an inspirational or a little chill. Then you got yellow, which is probably like a little more happy, but still like a little more in your face. And then each color has its own representation, and pretty much it's like whatever feel you're going for, really. So that's what's cool about music and colors to me.
Have you met anybody else who thinks the same way?
A few people. There's a few. I've met quite a few people, and I hate always like saying that. But I remember the first person I saw ever mention it was Kanye in like a YouTube thing forever ago, and I remember going, "Holy shit, that's what I have." Because I always thought I was crazy, and people would think I was crazy. But like, no, I see colors when I see music, and they're like, "What do you mean? Like, what are you talking about?" And I always thought I was like, maybe I'm just tripping. And I was probably like 15, 16. I saw Kanye like, no, it's called synesthesia. I got synesthesia. And I was like, what? Holy shit, that's what I got. And I saw Pharrell talk about it.
How do you even get diagnosed?
Maybe
Pharrell
so.
Does
Yeah,
taste, I think.
So
I could be wrong.
I think you may be right. So it's when your senses combine, basically.
Wow.
And like I said, those are obviously Kanye and Pharrell are two of the greatest of our times. I'm not comparing myself in
one of my favorite albums of all time. He produced the entire thing.
Who, Pharrell or Kanye?
Dude, Pharrell.
Oh yeah, Pharrell, legend, absolute legend. By far one of the top 3 or 4 producers I've ever seen in my generation. So there's I'm sure there's a lot of people and I've met different people that have similar things. I'm sure theirs is probably on a whole nother level than mine. But I remember that was the first time when I heard Kanye say that I was like, wow, I'm not totally crazy, because at least I know somebody else has similar feelings. And then over time, I've done more research and seen more people talk about it. So,
do you think that there is a specific type of mentality that it takes to get to where you're at?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And what is that mentality? Are there a few things that you have told yourself day in, day out? You wake up in the morning and you're like, you tell yourself that. You go to sleep, you tell yourself that. What?
Affirmations?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Thanks, Carlos.
Mantra.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a big like affirmations person like my dad actually is. He used to kind of tell me a lot of that. And I don't really say it out loud as much, but there's a lot of times where, I have to remind myself, like, this is why you do it. It's not for whatever other reason you're thinking about. But, I think mindset in music was kind of talking about earlier with the failure rate and people getting so discouraged. That Man, there's been times that I did a whole album for a pretty major artist, produced every single beat. We got to the point, took months. We got to the major label, and they were like, yeah, nah, this isn't it. We're not putting it out. You know, and I was like, okay. And I can literally name 50 different instances of something very similar to that. I've had a major artist, I was in a room with them, major artist playing beats. They wanted me to play beats for them. Actually, I'll say it, I don't even care. Tory Lanez, I don't like him.
Okay.
Well, I'll get into it. Like, different. So this is one of the few interactions I've ever had with somebody that I was not a fan of. He told me to come play him beats in the studio. Played him beats. We're playing a few. I started playing beats. He's literally never looking up. He's looking at his phone the whole time. 20 minutes passes. He never says a word. And I'm like kind of looking at the corner of my eye, like, you like him? Like, and then it gets to the last beat. I'm still playing beats. And I didn't know his last beat at the time. I played another beat. And he gets up and he's like, that's the only hard one you played. And he just walks out the room and left the studio, never came back. And it was one of the weirdest interactions I've ever had. But, I've recorded Tory multiple times, so it is what it is.
Right.
But it was just one of those things that people are going to do stuff like to you all the time. And it's like, I could have woke up the next morning and be like, man, my beats suck. Nobody likes me. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And then, obviously that didn't happen. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, that's my sound is not for Tory. Let me figure out who else I can get my songs to.
Was this bald Tory or hair implant Tory?
I think he had a little hair left. This is about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So he might have a little hair left. So, but yeah. So I mean, it kind of just gets back to that. There's gonna be a lot of times you're told no. There's gonna be a lot of times that you don't think you're good enough, and it's really once you can shift your mindset to be like, okay, it's not that I'm not good enough. It's that, and you gotta be realistic with yourself too. Like, I hate saying stuff like this, but I know my beats are very, very, very good. I always can improve, but I know at the time, like, I have very high quality beats. It may just be that my sound, your beat isn't going to, or your song isn't going to fit with every fan or artist. There's, you're going to have to find people that fit with your sound.
Right.
Those same beats
you have to find your audience, your people.
100%. Those same beats that Tory didn't like, I don't know, I can't remember for a fact, but I'm sure a few of those got placed different places and became very successful songs. It really just comes down to that moment, that time, that person was just not right for it. And so you have to find people that you really like working with. And then over time, you find people that always like your beats, always like your song. Like the artist Tink that I'm talking about. Every time I send her a beat, she listens to it, damn near likes every single one. I always see her posting on Instagram, writing to my stuff. That's the type of artist you need to work with. She's a major artist, and we have a very good connection with my sound and her sound. And so that's why I particularly focus on making more records for her, because I know that she's like, we connect very well with our music. So
When you were a kid, did you ever think, man, I might be crazy? Like, there's probably something wrong with me. Maybe that's why I'm not like the other kids. Did you ever?
Yeah, I mean, I still think that. So I think it takes a little bit of level of crazy to do anything that other people would want to do, because everybody wants to do it, but to actually persevere and go through it, there's definitely a level of crazy to this. Because there's been years where I didn't, I made $5,000 or $10,000 off music, and any other person would be like, well, I'm going to get a 9 to 5, and I was like, well, how can I double up that $10,000 for the next year? Okay, right. Cool. I made $20,000 this year. How can I double that this next year? I would always think in that term. Everybody's different, but I think that kind of just led me to, have the belief that I'm going to figure it out as I keep going and figure it out over time to just keep adding income sources and find people that really value my music going from there. So there definitely is a level of crazy to it, because otherwise I feel like everybody would be trying it. So
Last question. Is there any advice that you could give to anyone in the entertainment industry? Yeah, just any advice. It could be the most simplest thing, or
don't fall for the tagging artist DMs. Or I'm just kidding. I mean, I guess I always say this, and it sounds so generic, but it really is mindset, and mind state. Because this is a very tough thing. Any entertainment industry you're going into, you're going to have to be prepared to. There's going to be a lot of failures. There's going to be a lot of no's. There's going to be a lot of times that you hate everything about it and you don't want to try anymore. And it just goes back, like I said, I've every single year, every single month, damn near, there's times where we're like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. This is stupid. Like, I'm so mad. I can't believe this, blah, blah, blah. And the one thing that has always kept me pushing through is you can't fail until you quit. And so if you always continue that one more time, then the time you're thinking about quitting, you always have a shot. And so I just kind of go through that and keep that in my mind. And I also like don't want to look back when I'm XYZ age and be like, man, I didn't really give it as much as I should have. You know, that's one of my biggest
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
That's one of my biggest fears is regretting how much I actually gave to it. And so I tell people that all the time, like, would you rather be mad that you're not getting on, or would you rather be mad in like 10 years that you just gave up so quickly? Because, you know, and if it doesn't work out for you, that's fine. But I guarantee you they're going to learn a lot from it to shift to a way that you actually can make something work in a similar realm. It may not be, I thought I was going to be the 20-time Grammy nominated producer and 72 times platinum for Jay-Z and all this stuff like that. That doesn't necessarily happen for me, but I found a lot of other creative ways to make a living in music and still be very happy with what I do. So that's kind of just my advice is don't be so hard on yourself, and, you know, be prepared for the long haul.
Well, you heard it here, folks, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to end it right here. Carlos, you have anything you want to say? Wrap it up with it? Okay, because he's coming with the Spitfire questions. Thanks, Carlos, for helping me out today. It's only like my third interview. So, hey, we all got to start somewhere.
It was the best podcast in the history, so I hope everybody's going to be watching now because we had the chemistry going.
Thank you so much for coming. Hey, you're a busy guy. We appreciate you coming out here and being on our podcast.
For sure.
Your social media and all that.
Yeah,
Yep.
Link yourself up.
Everything is Trakksounds. That's my advice for all artists. Have the same for one. So TRAKKSOUNDS. Whatever you want to find me on, it's all going to be on Trakksounds.
Alrighty. Trakksounds, thank you so much for coming through.
Appreciate you for having me.
Rapgeeks.com. You know where it's at, ladies and gentlemen.